Happy Wednesday, everyone. Welcome into the Gramlich and McLean podcast. Our season previews continue. We have already done 4 of them, and today we are talking about the Florida State Seminoles, one of the biggest brands in the ACC. There's no doubt about it. Can they get back to a bowl? Can they do more? Can they get past that? That's the big question here with Florida State. So we've got new episodes coming at you Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We got Florida State today and Virginia Tech on Friday. We just did Louisville on Monday. So stay tuned here at the Gramlich and McLean podcast. And oh, look, it's Eric McLean. He's here with us. What a shocker.
What a shocker, KG. Come on. Man,
the name's on the title.
That's right. How fun have these things been? I mean, just to sit down with these coaches, to hear it directly from them. I mean, it's pretty cool access that these SIDs, cannot thank them enough, gave us to be able to talk with these coaches for 10, 15, 20 minutes and just really dive into their program about themselves, because nobody can tell us better than that direction of what they're doing. So it's been a lot of fun, and just continue to build those relationships. I mean, a lot of these guys we have been with in person, and we'll continue to fortify and build those things. So, KG, it has been a ton of fun, but let's go ahead and jump right into this thing. Coach Mike Norvell, Florida State Seminoles. Let's go. Oh, goodness, y'all. I just have to tell you this real quick. We just had the craziest podcast dilemma. Coach was very patient. Coach, thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us. Now we can get this thing started.
Appreciate you guys having me on, and we got to work through it all. We're rolling now.
That's right. Hey, listen, it sounded like you just had an awesome vacation with the family. Are you a big mountains guy as opposed to the beach?
No, I mean, I enjoy time with them, and we like going out to the lake and kind of relaxing there. My daughter's she just turned 8, so
come on.
She's getting into fishing a little bit. Caught her first catfish, which was awesome, and
wow.
It's good to get back to Tallahassee, and now it's game on. We're excited.
I love it.
Coach, have you and Coach Doran ever talked fishing? Because when we talked with him, we spent the first 5 minutes of the interview talking about fishing. He loves to fish.
No, I'm kind of a newbie into the fishing world too.
Okay.
So it's something that my daughter likes doing, and we're kind of jumping into it together. So I'm not going to have a whole lot of conversations outside of, especially with any other coaches about fishing. It's kind of a fun family thing.
I understand, Coach. Here's the deal. I'm glad you're starting off the right way, because my grandfather took me, and I've already told this story. He took me to like a fish farm. That was my first deal, and so at a fish farm, you drop your rod in, you get a fish, you pull it out. That simple. And then he said, we're going to go reel fishing. I said, what the heck do you mean? We've been doing that for 3 years. And I found out reel fishing was not as fun. So I'm glad you started with reel fishing, and she's hooked on it.
No, absolutely. Yeah, you were catching there at the beginning.
I was catching. Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Nice use of hooked, Mac. Okay. Let's get to your team, Coach. Let's talk about Jordan Travis. We actually just interviewed EJ Manuel, a Seminole alum, one of the winningest quarterbacks in ACC history. And when we asked him about Jordan Travis, I'm telling you, his smile lit up the screen. He was so excited to talk about JT. So what has Jordan's offseason been like? I know you sent a big message. You didn't bring anyone in the portal. This is going to be his team. So what has his offseason looked like from your vantage point?
No, it's been incredible, and just seeing his confidence grow. Going into his 3rd year in the system, he's had to work through a lot of challenges, and that's on the field. Some of the things he had to work through, just off the field, continuing to grow and develop. I mean, it's just it's been a heck of a journey, and to see the way that Jordan has approached each day and in the off season, spring practice, the way our team has responded to him. I mean, he really grew through the season last year. I think when you look at the back half of the year and just the production that he had, the growth that he showed, just his effectiveness, as a passer, vertically down the field, but also in an intermediate game. I think it's something that you're seeing all the work, and that translate to the efficiency that he was able to have here this spring, and we're expecting great things from him this fall, as well as the continued growth and development with the other guys that are in that room.
He's such a dynamic player, Coach. It just feels like every time that I watch him, it's, man, you think you got him, you think you have him wrapped up, and then boom, he escapes the pocket. He's making plays happen downfield. He's using his legs. He's a special guy, and I love what you just brought up there, because it truly did seem like when the sky was falling, everything bad was happening, there was this turning moment where Florida State could have done one or two things. They could have packed it up and went home, or we could have rallied the troops like you did, which I thought was an unbelievable coaching job and buy-in by the players, and get this thing going in the right direction. It seemed like JT was a big part of that. It seemed like once this light kind of clicked, the playbook opened up. You guys really started to push the ball downfield, all these different things, and he really took over on his own accord.
Well, I think it was an example of just the buy-in of our guys, our players, of Jordan, and what we're doing and what we're building. And we knew that coming in, we had to set the foundation, and that was we had a lot of close games last year. Didn't start off anywhere near the way we wanted to, but we were able to grow from a lot of the lessons that were learned. And it wasn't a perfect fairy tale ending, but there were still a lot of things that we were able to point back to as we went into the off season to say these are the things that we've got to grow from. And we have a lot of production that's coming back from last season, but also have a lot of competition. We're able to bring in some great newcomers, guys from the high school ranks, guys some transfers that came in, guys that bring experience, bring maturity, and also just a great fit for what we're trying to build here at Florida State. And so with all that and the work that our players are putting in, there's a lot of confidence in where we're going, and we know the challenges are still ahead. But when you have guys like Jordan that have had those experiences, you've kind of been through some of the roller coaster moments, but it gives a great deal of excitement for the next steps in our journey.
We talked with Coach Satterfield recently, and he was talking about his quarterback, Malik Cunningham, and he said there were times in the spring where we told him, you can't run. You can't just tuck it and run. You've got to make a play with your arm. Is that something you've been working with Jordan Travis? Will we see maybe a little bit more of that vertical passing game? Because when he was able to connect on those, it was electric. How do you coach a dual threat guy? It's got to be different than someone who doesn't have that ability. So what goes into that, Coach?
Well, I think Jordan, he has a great ability as a passer, and it's not something that I think when you have a playmaker like that, you got to make playmakers make plays, and so I don't ever want to handcuff him in any situation like that, because he's not somebody that just is a run first player. He is just trusting his drops, trusting his rhythm. It takes 11 guys on the field, all operating together, and when a opportunity to make a play with your arm is there, let's do it. When an opportunity to make a play with your legs are there, obviously that's utilizing the skills and talents that he has as well. But we're excited. I don't. We haven't had to do that because, Jordan, you see the confidence in his progressions. You see the confidence in what he's able to do, in the passing game, both intermediately and vertically down the field. And, just having some of these guys that have been young receivers that have been able to grow and develop with him. And then some of the newcomers that have joined the program really, I believe, bring a dynamic element to what we're trying to do.
Coach, before we go to the defensive side of the ball, I just want to look at your offensive line, because I feel like that is a group that hasn't quite been to the Florida State standard in years past, and really thought last year made some great headway. And some guys came together, they made some noise, and they really started to be a group you could rely upon. You go out, you add a couple more pieces. Some of these guys have stayed, and they're growing up with you. It really looks like a unit that can be back to those championship years for Florida State.
That's the one position I'm probably most excited to see the continued growth.
That's what I like to hear.
We've had a lot of we've played with a lot of youth here in the last couple of years, and we've had some unfortunate injuries, and you've had to shuffle a lot of different lineups. But as you see those guys growing up, I mean it's exciting. They're growing physically, but also growing mentally, and understanding that's a tough position to play. And we talked about the confidence of Jordan, and just seeing that growth. We're seeing the same things on the offensive line, and we have been able to bring in some great newcomers. I think we're going to have 10 newcomers that have joined the program between transfers and high school players that we were able to go get, and some of those guys we think will have an opportunity to help impact us early, but also just the youth that has played over the last few years. Now they walk with a different swagger. They've got that confidence. They understand what to expect, but then now physically they're in such a better position to be able to execute those things we're asking them to do, just from the work and development that they've been able to have.
Coach, we all know that there are positives and negatives to the portal. I mean, that's true with any of this new stuff, but With what Jermaine Johnson did last year, I think you already had a view of the portal of, look, this can make us better. But then Jermaine Johnson happens, and he's a first-round pick, and he's an absolute game changer. Did that maybe increase your want to use the portal, or did it stay the same?
Well, for us, it's always about finding the right fit for Florida State, and I really don't care, where we have to go to bring the right young men into the program. I mean, whether it's high school, whether it's junior college, whether it's a college transfer, we're not going to lower the standard of the type of young men and what we're looking to bring. And we mentioned the youth that we've had, and we've been one of the youngest teams in college football the last couple of years. But being able to bring in guys that have experience, guys that are mature, in their years of being able to play at the collegiate level. I think that is a benefit. But you look at Jermaine, you look at guys like Kier Thomas was another great transfer. Jamie Robinson, you just go through the roster of guys that have been able to come in, and yes, you point to what they're doing on the field, but for what matters to me is what they're doing in that locker room, what they're doing off the field. Being able to be examples of what it needs to look like. And unfortunately, through transition and our first couple of years, there's been a lot of change around this program, and to be able to have the continuity and for guys that are coming in and doing it, our way, and doing it, being able to take ownership in the way that we operate, the way that we work, hitting that Florida State standard. It gives a great example for some of our younger players to see that within the program, rather than a coach telling them what it needs to look like. We're starting to see players coaching players, and that's what you always want, to see grow within the program. And I think you saw some of that last year. I mean, you talked a little bit, Eric, just about the response from a team, but they have to have those examples. They have to have those experiences, and confidence comes through that experience and come through that work that you can overcome things. And there's plenty of people in the world that will tell you what you can't do, but whenever you're able to live that out and to have those experiences, now it's about becoming more efficient, more consistent. Being able to do those things at a higher level. And when you have players that are helping spread that message, it accelerates the process. But also when you go and you add a transfer in, it's not just the coach telling, it's guys that have just lived it, before them. Yeah. And so really excited about the group we've been able to add. And, it really hasn't changed the way we viewed it, because we're always trying to find the best fit for our team and for Florida State.
Right. But before I kind of dive into a couple of individuals on that defense, Coach, it brought up something as you were just talking there, and thinking that, man, this new world that we're in, I mean, you are now more in your staff. I mean, members of your staff are more of a general manager than ever. I mean, you're having to look at numbers and eligibility and how many years does this guy have? And, okay, is this guy in the portal? Can we go and fill an instant need? Do you kind of have a number in your mind that, hey, we're going to have 15 high school scholarship type deal here, and then we're going to have 6 or 7 that we're going to go to the portal? We need some older guys. Do you have that number in your head, or is it just literally a case-by-case deal?
No, I mean, you have a pretty good sense of what your roster looks like, and as you go through the year, if there's an opportunity to help with an experienced player, where maybe you're losing, we look at defensive end last year. I'm really excited about the guys we have returning. Derek McClendon, Dennis Briggs, some of the young freshmen that were a part of the program. But you also lost Kier Thomas and Jermaine Johnson, two of the most impactful defensive ends in the conference last year. And so to go out and be able to get a Jared Verse, that's an exciting addition to our program. And, to have the example of what those guys did before, we knew that was probably something we wanted to add that experience to the room, and you continue to develop those young guys. And I think that's been a good mix. But so we went into it thinking, yes, this is where we'd like to possibly take a transfer. But, it's not always going to work out exactly like that. But, because it is a new age. There's a lot of changes, and, the ebb and flow of managing a roster. It is, it's definitely as unique now as it's ever been. But we try to stay on top of it, and then adjust to the things that do present themselves.
Yeah, and I love that you bring up Jared Verse there, a guy that I think is going to jump onto the scene very quickly. I mean, he has cat-like reflexes, very quick, has a strong hand. And just looking at that entire defensive line, I mean, it's scary, for opposing guys when they see this front line up across from him. But another guy that, man, if I was a tight end, a slot receiver, I don't want to come across the middle and meet Jamie Robinson. I mean, he has just emerged as a freak, as a superstar, and I think, really turning into and developing into one of the best safeties in the country. What have you really, I guess, seen from him, prime time of this leadership role? You're a senior. You're a guy that people are going to rely upon, going into the season. What have you seen from him growth-wise this offseason?
I think that just his maturity and confidence within all things that we're doing within the program. He's a great player. You see that from this last year, first team all conference. Really as he was able to move back to one of our high safeties, there really emerged. Creating takeaways, the big plays. Obviously always around the ball, but then being able to come back and see the growth within the defensive backfield. We returned a lot of guys there, been able to go and you add a couple other additions to it, but you've seen him and just his communication, the confidence in the terminology, taking his game to the next level. We're really excited about what Jamie brings to our defense and our football team. And you see the emergence of a guy like Akeem Dent, who's going to be the other safety there working with him. Those guys I think could be one of the top safety tandems in the country, and really how they play off of each other. They're communicating like veterans, and you see that confidence in a daily approach, especially through this spring and spring practice, and excited about the guys that are behind those guys. They're going to continue to push and make an impact as well.
Coach, we know FSU's schedule is always tough. I mean, it's always loaded. You got Miami, you got Clemson, you got Florida, you got all these great teams. You're also playing LSU, just for good measure, adding another team in there. But you have a week 0 game with Duquesne. What is the benefit of that for you guys? I feel like as a player I'm not going to call it a preseason game because I don't want to be disrespectful, but just being able to get out there and play in a real game before you play LSU.
Well, I mean, I love that we get to start the season here at home too, and to be able to be at Doak Campbell Stadium playing in week 0. So we start up. Our report date is the 26th of July.
Wow.
It is here upon us, and so there's that sense of urgency of just all things that we're doing, and like I said, to be able to start off at home is great. I mean, every game and every opportunity that you get to play in this stadium, I mean, it's special, and so we're excited about that, and with playing game 1 at home and then knowing where to go the next two games on the road, it's just about maximizing each opportunity. But to be able to kick off the season here is definitely going to be special.
Yeah, Coach. Last one for you here. Kelly kind of inspired this question with how you asked that. I think it's something that's so interesting. What are your thoughts on preseason? I mean, do you wish there were preseason games? It's crazy to me that college football is like the only major sport where there's no warm-up, there's no scrimmage with other people, there's no crossover. It's just straight from you versus you to a real-life game that matters.
Yeah, Mac, even in college basketball, we have scrimmages.
Everybody scrimmages. Coach, I just wanted your thoughts quickly on that. It has nothing to do with anything else that we've talked about.
There's a good and bad about it. It makes the importance of every game. There are no games that you can overlook. There's no moment. It's that sense of urgency is what makes college football special. But on the flip side of it, I think when you see teams and how they grow throughout the season, I mean, it is. You look back a few years ago with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when they won the Super Bowl, and they were sitting there and I think 7-6 or 7-5 at one point in the season, but they were able to finish and become champions. Those are the things that each game you get an opportunity to grow from. But one of the great things about college football is you gotta start fast and you gotta finish strong. So it's something that we talk to our guys all the time about, and we're excited about being able to kick off the season here in week 0 and come out of the gates.
No doubt about it. Coach, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate you. Excited to watch you guys this season.
Thanks again to Head Coach Mike Norvell for joining us. And Mac, this is Florida State. All right, expectations are always high. They have a rabid fan base. They have a massive brand. And the big question is, can they get back to a bowl game? I think that's how you get back in the right direction and take that next step. They finished 5-7 last year, but they won 4 ACC games. Most teams that win 4 ACC games go to a bowl game.
Right.
It was just a matter of starting 0-4, which is crazy. And we talked with Norvell about it. Look, the fact that this team did not give up is really impressive. He's not on the hot seat, but I do think making a bowl game would send a very good message, especially when it comes to recruiting, fan engagement, and all that moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to go back to how they finished the year and really, just starting off, it was the worst case scenario. I mean, it was old. Yeah. It was terrible. I mean, EJ was sobbing in the studio every other week. Coach Rick didn't know what to do. I mean, two Florida State guys there. And we're just looking like, are they going to win a game? I mean, I remember vividly EJ and I looking at that schedule saying, who the heck can they beat? I mean, nobody. They can't beat anybody of these guys. And then it was like this just light switched and flipped, and they just came together, rallied as a team. Guys like Jermaine Johnson, guys like Jordan Travis, and other great leaders on that team, Dylan Gibbons. And that coaching staff said, guys, let's go. Let's pull it together and figure it out, because KG, it was code red. I mean, it was all heck breaking loose.
Oh, yeah.
And they found a way to do it. So I think that was honestly one of the best coaching jobs we've seen in recent years, because it was,
I agree.
It was just all over. And for them to go basically 5-2 to finish the season, or 5-3, that was incredible. And so got to give kudos to them. And I think that should be some going into this season, to build upon that and to see what Jordan Travis, we talked about that with Coach, his growth and his development, and going into this year from Jump Street as the guy. I mean, he has so many just weapons and things that he can do with his feet, extending the play with his arm, and then just pure pocket passer, KG, that he's another one of these dynamic 10 guys coming back that are starters. So I think Florida State can take a step forward. How big a step, I think is going to be a little bit limited by the skill players. Those guys, they have to show up to play. I was looking at the, their leading receivers coming back last year, and I think it was like the most was 300, or even that they had a year ago was 300, and you've got to do more than that. I mean, you have to have nearly 1,000-yard receiver, and maybe even a couple. We got to get to explosion. We got to push the ball downfield, and ultimately that will be a step in the right direction for Florida State.
It's kind of funny because it's similar to Louisville and it's similar to Syracuse. How much of a passing game can you have? How much of a consistent passing threat can you be? Because we know what Jordan Travis can do. And he is a very talented passer. There's no doubt about it. It's just, where are the weapons? Right. They brought in Micah Pittman, the Oregon transfer, who I think they're very excited about. They return a couple running backs who have been solid. But that's the bottom line. And I think it's odd, the teams that they're going to be competing against in this division to get to a bowl game, Louisville and Syracuse, they all kind of have the same issues. That's why this division is going to be really tough.
And I think it's more so just what are their strengths. All three of those teams you just mentioned want to run the football. I think Louisville has the best.
Yep.
Right.
And we
I
all
think
know
Louisville
that.
has the best complementary piece passing right now. But I think Jordan can turn into that. I think he certainly can. And I think the creativity of this offense, both guys are just going to be limited by weapons. And can they step up? Good thing for Louisville, they have Marshawn Ford that can, kind of be that guy. I know the FSU has McDonald. What can they do with that? What can they do? And McLean, a young guy stepping up at wide receiver, a transfer, as you mentioned. So just what skill-wise, can they take a step? And I think that'll be the biggest deal for sure, because when you saw that turnaround that I was just talking about, they ran the heck out of the football, and they did it very effectively.
They did, and we know they can do that. But as we've talked about many times in this podcast, they didn't go to the portal and get another quarterback. Jordan Travis is their guy. I think that will help them to start the year, knowing who their quarterback is. Defensively, a guy who we love, who we had on the podcast, who we're big fans of, he's gone. Jermaine Johnson. How the heck do you replace Jermaine Johnson? The answer is you don't, right, Mac? Like, you don't replace 70 tackles, 12 sacks, 18 tackles for loss. They also lose Keir Thomas. So where is their pass rush going to come from? I think that's the biggest question for Florida
State. You hope
State.
that those big uglies up front, can really get it done. When I think of Cooper, I think of Lovett. Can those guys take a step on the interior? But then you got to transfer in Jared Verse. We asked Coach about him. He's impressed with the things that he's seen, and I think that is it's kind of creating this transfer pipeline of these defensive ends that, hey, is your career not maybe where you want it to be? Come to Florida State and take another huge step. And so so can he be that piece? Can he continue, that lineage? I've got to think so. And then just the surrounding core. The linebacking core needs to step up, needs to be better. Obviously, Jamie Robertson is a freak. I mean, he's a special player, KG, and a guy that, he gets his hands on the football. He makes plays happen. He's all over the place. Their leading tackler. So what can he do in this, last go-around, I assume, type of role? And really from a leadership, from a execution, all the little things there that you want to see from your best players.
I agree. I think the defense is a big question. Jared Verse, who Coach Norvell is very excited about, he's going to be a big playmaker. And I think Verse and Micah Pittman, those two transfers on either sides of the ball, they could help make or break this season for Florida State. And when I asked him, does the Jermaine Johnson experience make you believe more in the portal? He gave me a very good answer because, he still wants to recruit high school guys and they're going to go to the portal when they can. But to me, if I'm Florida State, that's the model. And when you're recruiting portal guys, you have the best example possible. A guy who was like third string at Georgia, comes to Florida State, takes the ACC by storm, is the first round pick. You can use that. And there's no doubt in my mind they used that when they were
no question about
Jared
it.
Verse.
So I think ultimately we just kind of laid out their offense, defense. What do these guys look like? You spell it out right here in the rundown, KG. Can they get back to a bowl game? I mean, that's the biggest thing. Had one of the longest streaks in the country come to a crashing halt a couple of years ago, and now it's been back-to-back seasons not being able to get there. Man, they start in a hurry. Week 0, they play before anybody else, and then travel basically to LSU. I know it's in New Orleans. That'll be a glorified home game for the Tigers. So they got to get out in a hurry and get ready to play some high-level football.
I really like that they're starting week 0 because with a young team, some transfers, I like that for FSU and for North Carolina. They're both doing that. So when we look at this schedule, can they get back to a bowl game? The win total per Vegas is 6.5. So they can still go under that and get back to a bowl game at 6-6. The guaranteed losses that I see, Mac, the ones that I think they're probably not going to win that. At NC State and Clemson, those are back-to-back. Most likely not. Now, look, NC State and Florida State, there's a history there, but on the road, that's tough. I'm not saying LSU's a guaranteed loss. I think if you say LSU's a guaranteed loss, you're just going from the whole SEC aspect of it all because LSU was terrible last year. They don't know who their quarterback is. Brand new coach, brand new system. And again, I love that FSU has that week 0 before that game. There's at Miami, which could be a loss, but is very winnable. Florida's rebuilding as well. The 2 SEC teams that Florida State draws are very much rebuilding. And so I don't think those are guaranteed losses.
And I love how you spell it out here. And I think it is truly at NC State, which is, let's just be honest, has been a house of horrors for Florida State, even when they were great. I mean, I remember watching EJ. Yeah, EJ lose there. I remember watching Jameis lose there too. So I mean, it's a tough place to play. It's a rowdy environment, and for whatever reason, FSU it's their house of horrors. They don't want to go there. So now with probably the best NC State team, at least preseason that we've seen in a very long time, maybe ever, that's a very tough environment to go to. And then of course, welcoming Clemson home to Tallahassee there is going to be very interesting. So. I don't know, KG. I think, man, it's tough, but I want to go over. I think they can get to 7. If it was, it's
I'm leaning that way too.
It's tough. I'm going over though.
I think 7 is. I think 7 makes more sense than 6, unless Jordan Travis gets hurt or something like that. But there are some winnable games: Duquesne, Louisville, BC, Georgia Tech, Syracuse, Louisiana. I think 7 makes sense. And what Coach Norvell was saying at the end of our interview with him, they have some really big home games. And I think they built back some goodwill last year, fighting back after that tough start. Doak Campbell has to bring it. And I think this fan base is really ready to get back.
They've been in my mentions, so I need them to be in the stadium. Let's see it happen. And they've been challenged a little bit too, I think. I think people calling them a little fair weather. We need them to see pack the Doak, get that thing back to what it's supposed to be. That's what you've got to do. Hey, huge shout out to Derek Satterfield getting this thing rolling, Florida State SID, and of course, Coach Mike Norvell there. Really appreciate and gracious of his time. But that's it, guys. Thank you for listening. Another great episode of Gramlich and Mac Lane. Go get SiriusXM. Listen to us in your car. Listen to us on your phone. We'll follow you anywhere you want to go. But also go over to YouTube. It's always great to say hello. We see you guys. Subscribe over there and Apple Podcasts, the OGs. Always appreciate y'all. But until next time, we'll see you.